Take a deep breath with me, guys. Take a deep breath because, as promised, I'm going to be diving in unashamedly, unabashedly into the political sphere, covering tactics, some quotes, the narration and the overall messaging that it was given to us in, 1997, how it's more relevant today than ever. And as I was going through and I was picking out these lines, there was all kinds of little parallels pointing to things that have been happening in the geopolitical sphere in today's day and age that should terrify a lot of us. But I know also on the flip side to this, there's going to be a lot of very triggered people because we're all operating, it feels these days, under completely different realities. I mean, that's always been the case, that everyone's reality is different. But I feel like that gap has grown exponentially, even over the last 3 years, like very recently. Just the gap of how substantial all individualistic our own realities are, the truths that we operate under. It's just become a beast of magnitude that, like I said in the last video, is no coincidence, it's no accident, it's been cultivated this way, it is by design. And I think tactics cover some of these things. The moment pride is lost, freedom is also lost. The moment pride is lost, freedom is also lost. I feel like this has double meanings. I mean, when we say pride, what are the two main things that jumps out in today's day and age? National pride is one, and that's kind of amplifying and getting a lot of people very outraged. National pride in the UK has always been pretty strong, but it's got to that level where, I think all the woes and all of the divisiveness, the anger, the outrage, the protesting, even starting to leading to rioting, civil unrest, over national pride. People loving their country, and in that love, feeling very strongly about what the skin color, what the ratios of countries' demographic, its ethnicity should be. National pride, I can understand the value of it. I have to look at it from a third-party perspective because, in my personal opinion, I don't have a huge amount of national pride. I say I have more national shame than anything because I don't really look at countries. I love my country in terms of I love British people. I love the ecology. I think England is very, very beautiful. When I'm away from her for a long time and I come back and I'm just like, England, Mother England, I love you. But it's like her roaming fields and her landscape, her semi-miserable weather. But also never too hot, never too cold. Always just right. Even when it is just miserable and rainy, I'm just like, that's you, England. And it's home, it's familiarity. And I have pride for that. I have love for that. So it's not that there is no national pride, but I almost feel like national pride also becomes this institutionalized thing, like what a country is. And when governments really want to control people en masse, they start adding in things on top of that. Military presence, especially for America, that whole national pride being so attached to vets. The vets, little tears, the anthem's going, saluting the war vet, rock flag and eagle. Even when you're trying to board a plane in America, it's like the war vets come first. So you hear everywhere, thank you for your service, thank you for your service, thank you for your service. And then you also see all this propaganda for young men to join the military, and they're held up on this pedestal, and that's just a part of the national pride of America. And I look at that, we don't have that in the UK, and I'm like, that's like an institutional level of national pride where it's cultivated to have you heart and soul behind essentially the military industrial complex. So that when we go out and commit atrocities like the UK and the US did, going to the Middle East, what we did in the Middle East was an illegal, unjustified, it was based on a lie. We should never have been there. We should never have done the things we've done, the minimum 200,000 people innocent people that we obliterated, we should never have done it. But so much of it was done under this national pride identity. We were attacked, we need to attack back. We need to be number one. I love my country so much that it has to be number one, not socially or based around traits of like we're the most democratic or the most compassionate or the country that's doing the most wonderful, world-changing innovation that's pushing humanity in a beautiful, thriving direction, and we're the forefront leaders of that. No, national pride gets hijacked under some bullshit like what I just listed, and freedom being lost as a consequence of that, freedom of others, freedom of marginalised minorities, even our own freedom. Mentally, our own freedom is lost. Because you're just playing out the narratives of what the powers to be want you to think and feel impassioned about. So it's not so much that the moment pride is lost, freedom is also lost, but pride in its truest form, because pride is something that is hijacked. And by design, I think like the real, authentic, true elements of what you feel pride over, they are essentially lost, if that makes any sense. The other one, very quickly, is pride is obviously LGBTQ, gay rights. Obviously, the trans argument is kind of hitting just ridiculous extremes. In my personal opinion, I think it's utterly ridiculous. I feel like, for any merit that there is to have this conversation about gender identity, okay, how might it affect young people? Should it be in schools? What age should it be at? Okay. Fair and valid conversations. Yes, should trans women be able to be in sports? They have the testosterone and the biology of a man. Should they be able to go in a boxing ring with a biological born female and be able to absolutely floor her so much that, what was it, at the Olympics, the female boxer, I've never been punched that hard in my life. Like, it's just night and day, the difference in a male and female's biology. So do we need to have that separation? These are all valid conversations, sure, but it is also, once again, being hijacked. Even the topic of pride is being hijacked for nefarious reasons, political reasons. It's being politicized and it's being presented like it's a top of the ticket issue. Donald Trump, he'll do like 30 rattle gunning off, absolutely disastrous, democracy ending policies. And because they're just coming so thick and so fast, and someone's like, oh, why don't you criticise your government? And it's same with Starmer, same with, yes, the UK political landscape is also a mess. There are numerous examples here, but I pinpoint US because it's the core central superpower of literally everything. Western democracy, global peace, it's in your hands. You chose to be the world police. That comes with some responsibility. That also comes with you guys having to put up with, yes, Brits, fucking Aussies and other people talking about your shit. This idea of why don't you mind your own business? Because y'all made everyone's business your business. Know what I'm saying? Own what you created. That's what. And so there'll be 30 absolutely disastrous things, and then he'll get a bunch of kids in. What was that photo shoot he did where he had the kids and he was signing a bill banning the was either the sports or something surrounding the going into girls' locker rooms, trans women going into women's locker rooms. Or some people say men going into women's locker rooms because they don't acknowledge your gender is something, in your opinion, that is just purely biological. No ifs, no buts, no maybes. There's no in-betweens. There's no grey areas. What was down here when you were born, that's it. You don't acknowledge the social elements of gender. And I personally think that is ridiculous. There is a social construct, role to play in society. There are absolutely social elements about how you socially feel gender. And those aren't small or minor things. They're real and they're tangible. And if you have just a bit of good faith with the discussion, you'll see that. But anyway, Trump gets on and he's like, I've protected children the children are protected. Everyone applauded. He's protected the children. And he got all of this like social praise and accolade for doing it. And somebody even commented in my last video, like, yeah, that's why I voted for the guy, because he's sorting out the trans issue, he's protecting the kids. The motherfucker just went and cut a bill. Can't remember the agency's name, but it's one of the agencies that fund children's cancer research. He also went and cut Meals on Wheels, which was basically giving meals to something like 6 million underprivileged children to make sure they got a good meal in, no food, so they weren't going to school hungry. He also cut child tax credits. He also had a very cruel policy when it came to like the children of immigrants, and like thousands have been separated from their families. And let's not even begin to go into Gaza, a nation, I think it's something like 60% of them are under 18 years old. It's essentially a nation of children, yes, with a radical, terrible, absolutely abysmal terrorist organization running it. But how Hamas got into power, I mean, if you just look over it historically, Netanyahu, Israel, quite literally said, we want Hamas in power. He gave them the green flag to basically have political movement in the earlier stages of Palestine, because he said, oh yeah, as long as they're in power, they don't have a chance of becoming a free and independent nation. Look it up, research it, don't go into the comments and say fake news, bullshit, like typical MAGA, everything's fake news, everything's a lie. Go do research, real research, and you'll find what propped up a terrorist organisation, and also the whole argument around using children as human shields. Nonsense. It's just nonsense. It's a very, very simple, ethical thought experiment to do. You know, like the one where it's like, if you've got one worker on a train track and you've got 5 here, you know, and you're in control, do you steer and you kill this one person or the 5? You know, a similar classical. If you do any like philosophy class, you'll be presented with this. Let me give you one. You know, there's a school in your country that your children goes to this school, and there's 100 kids. There's 100 kids in this school, and one terrorist takes over, with a gun and a bomb, whatever, takes over the school to deal with said terrorist. Would you level the school, killing all 100 kids inside? The answer would always categorically, vehemently, like, no, it's not even a question. Your answer would always be no. You would never say yes. Well, you murdered my child and 99 of his classmates, but you got the terrorist. That's not how it works, and that's the kind of cruelty surrounding children. But, you know, at the end of the day, Trump saving the children. And yeah, the whole pride topic is another guy's ruse to, and essentially real pride being lost to go and strip freedoms. Wow, I went really in on just that one quote, but Ramza was based. There's no justice in using and deceiving people. I can't ignore people dying for justice. That was another Ramza quote. Yeah, I mean, what do I need to say more about human shields? Yeah, what happened on October, that attack on Israel, absolutely barbaric. Inexplicably cruel, and yes, I definitely think there should have been action, but the action should have been surgical and proportional. This isn't up for debate, guys. There are literally international law, the Geneva Convention. Like, this shit is like Magna Carta style basics that we even started learning this at a time where the world did look like tactics. Like a medieval world, we started going, oh yeah, you know, things like human rights and proportionality and wanton destruction and collective punishment. Yeah, those are inhumane. Those are cruel. Like, there's a level, there's a cut-off point. And that's not like arbitrary, there's not like subjective, like, well, I mean, they did this, so this is like, but no, there are very distinct guidelines. And I suppose that's what makes it difficult with the ongoing, certainly Israel-Gaza debate. The other wars that we've got going on right now is, obviously, we're in a post-truth era, so for those people who want to stay aboard a certain tribalistic train, they'll ignore, push to one side, even argue against, and just call fake news. The objective facts and reality, numbers, statistics, even international courts, judges, community, United Nations, going, oh yeah, no, that far passes and exceeds the point of this was a proportional response, and that this was getting justice. This is above that. And yeah, if Ramza saw this situation, his line there's no justice in using and deceiving people. I can't ignore people dying for justice. It's not justice. It simply isn't. This is a great one. I've taken my whole life for granted. When it came down to it, I dropped it all and ran. Now, Ramza means this in a very different context, at the point that he just runs the weight of the, I never know how to say his surname, Biolve, Ramza Biolve. I think that's right. He's obviously born into a high-ranking family, and the duty is like placed at his feet. Like when the pressures came, he dropped it all and ran. And I've just personally felt this as well, a point where I was sort of realising I was taking my whole life for granted, like what being alive is, the gift that it is, the potentiality that we all have within life, and especially in the Western privileged worlds we live in. Like, we have so much that we're capable of achieving and experiencing. And yeah, I have experienced this, I think, a handful of times where I just suddenly look, I wake up one day and I just look at the underperformance of my own experience, my own life. I've been ignoring my callings. I've been ignoring the higher purposes and desires or objectives of my life. I've been ignoring them, and yeah, the number of times I've seen that, and it's been super, super depressing, and then I've dropped it all and ran. Loaded up. I mean, this is like the earliest stages of how I got into bikepacking. I went out, literally ran into the Scottish Highlands and hid out there in the wild for 6 weeks in the middle of winter, the drop dead middle of winter, and then I did the same thing. I ran to Portugal. I stayed out there for 2 months. And there was definitely an element of running. But you're not always running away. Even when you're running away from something, I feel like simultaneously, even if it's unbeknownst to you, you're also running towards something. And I know, I just feel so much resonance with that line. Another Ramza, it sounds good when you say, for the people. But what you really want is a stronger army than the knights and the evil power to control people, or the people. I think we've all become at least, no, we haven't. What am I saying? Like I say, I hope we've all got at least politically savvy enough, whether you're a Trump supporter or, whether you hate the Democrats, whether you love them, even if it was fucking Obama. I mean, for so many people who also looks on like Obama or looks at UK, I'd hope we were all at the stage where you know that they're bullshitting you, right? They're always bullshitting you. There is something inherently, and this isn't always true, because there's like Bernie Sanders types, people who go in it with genuinely true and good intentions to change the world in a way that they see as positive, help the average people, but the majority. I feel like there's a reason why people go into politics, and yeah, it's for power, it's for clout. You're intrinsically a person who you're drawn towards power, wanting power. And I feel like even if you do start with that intention, there are numerous like Democratic candidates that I've been like, oh, once they get in, oh yeah, they're going to make a change. And they say all the right things, and that what they're going to be doing is for the people, and they're going to stand by the people, and everything they do. I was born in a working class family, I know what struggle is, and those are the people I'm going to be representing. And you're like, oh shit, I'm actually convinced by you. And then they get in, and whether it's the system that changes them, like they may not have always been lying, but I feel like so many of them get in and they go, oh right, okay, this whole thing is a fucking gridlock. And if I vote for the people like I said I would, I'm going to lose either my position, or I'm going to get ostracized, I'm going to get marginalized. I won't be able to pick my battles properly. So if I want to pass this thing, I've kind of got to go along with this thing. So I'll go along with this thing so I can get this thing passed through. And then when it gets to the voting on that thing, other things get thrown in to basically hijack or undermine it. That thing being the thing that's actually going to help the people. And then that gets stripped and hollowed out, and you go, okay, well, it's better than nothing, so I'll vote for that. So that later down the line I can do the thing. And it's just a system that is structured, it is set up. It's like Rant said, it's evil power to control the people. And now I'll quickly do Ramza's last one. If you need someone else to fulfill your dreams, it loses its value. Wouldn't you agree? I feel like the Americans with the American dream, I mean, they call it the American dream, right? But I think it's sort of the dream of every people, working class people in every nation. The American dream is what? To have a job, have an income that you can, well, hopefully thrive in, but at the very least to strive in. And that if you do that, if you put in that work, you can have the family, you can have the wife, you can have the kids, you can have the house, you can have your own little slice of living. And that was the dream. That's the dream of the working people. I mean, that's really all we ever really goddamn want. We want a shelter, we want the people we love, and we want food on the goddamn table. It's very, very straightforward. And actually there's a line from another Tactics character that is exactly that. Oh, it's actually from a Gustav Marguerite. Gustav says, "Your revolution can never succeed. What we need is food and a place to sleep, not ideas." Right. The evil power to control the people, the fulfilling your dreams. It loses its value if you need someone else to do it. It's kind of that whole, governments will take care of us. We'll own nothing, but we'll be happy. Like that, the big daddy needs to take care of us, and if we allow him to take control of every facet and aspect of our life, big government, if we allow big government in, not just in how things are run in the country, but we also let them into our social lives. Like, look at how much politicians, including Trump, the Conservatives, but the Democrats have also done as well. They're trying to get involved in things like our sex lives, get involved in, get into the bedroom, bringing back things that have like long been off the table. It's like, this isn't a choice that government can make. This is a personal choice. Things like abortion, like these are our choices to make. Big government, they're not supposed to be involved in every facet of our life. And we're certainly now, especially with the Trump era, getting government involved in even every single like social dispute that's going on. Right? That's all this man really does. He doesn't govern. He doesn't run the country with any kind of political prowess or savvy or professionalism, where facts and science and data is brought to the table. Like, no, almost every scientist, almost every reputable economist, even the judges, the supreme judges, who are not woke lefties, for Christ's sake. Most of the Supreme Court justices in America are conservatives. And a handful of those are Trump-appointed ones. And even they are coming out on things like inciting the Alien Enemies Act, I think it was, which is a draconian-ass law. I think it was like 18 something. I've just seen a story today that Trump is literally declaring martial law. He has officially declared and used the Insurrection Act to basically take, I think it's the guard from Gavin Newsom's constituency. It's either Los Angeles or California, to take the National Guard and deploy it, things from California into Los Angeles. Quite literally militarizing onto the public. You may look at it and go, oh yeah, well, looting and rioting is bad, and if the government's going to sort it out, then I'm all for big daddy government, the federal government coming in and saying, okay, well, we're going to deploy troops against our own people. But because I don't agree with rioting and looting, but you don't realize the danger of allowing that power to be wielded. being able to use the Insurrection Act and you supporting it, like, eventually this leads to civil war. I hope you realise that. There is like serious talk about how a civil war, which at this stage, even any kind of global war or civil war, just kind of feels off the table. Like, I feel like we've been lulled into this sense of security since the world wars where, the way that nuclear power and the way that our countries operate and run now, it's not possible for us to see these kind of historical events play out again. We can never have another world war. We can never have another civil war. Let me tell you right now, it is absolutely fucking possible. I've seen lectures and podcasts on exactly what that looked like specifically with America, how certain democratic states will essentially try to oppose the federal government via its National Guard, and then the federal guard from another state coming over and being sent to, like we're seeing with this literal insurrection act, being sent to another state. And what happens if that state's guard fights back? You've got a civil war on your hands. My guys, these are a stronger army than the knights. These are the fucking knights being deployed into other fiefdoms within the country. Like, I know this is like hyperbolic and we're just seeing like early stages of it play out, but when something fundamentally is being changed, like bringing in the Insurrection Act, you need to materialise what's the further extent of the destruction that this could lead to. Don't look at it from that, well, it's going to stop a few rioters and looters, yay! That's the superficial. That's the transient. That's the peripheral fucking nonsense. That's he's owned the trans people. He's owned the libs. Some people comment when I'm ranting on Trump and they'll be like, "Yeah, dude, he's stopped fentanyl coming in." And fentanyl was a really big issue in my town, so I'm so happy for that. Okay, there's a thing. There's a thing that you like. One thing, great. Even a fucking broken clock is right twice a day, Like, not to say that this man, like Trump, hasn't done anything good. I'm not saying that. But they're not top of the ticket issues, and the good certainly doesn't outweigh the bad. Like, people are being too selective. They've put their political blinders on. Their tribalistic bias has just fucking hijacked their brain wiring, and everything that now comes in, you just filter through a lens of, well, how can I justify this? How is this actually good? How is this actually genius 5D chess? How is this actually fantastic? And you're turning everything into, just like Mr. Ramza said, how is this for the people? Because I've convinced myself everything is for the people. So now let me do mental gymnastics and switch every piece of narrative on its head to how this is actually still for the people. And what you need to do is you need to ignore reality, you need to ignore facts, statistics, the judicial system. Quite literally, like I said, the Supreme Court justices aren't woke Democrats. They've come out multiple times and said, you cannot do this. This is quite literally illegal. This is quite literally constitutional shattering. And Trump has turned around to them and gone, what the fuck are you going to do about it? Because they don't actually have a military. The Supreme Court justices don't have a military that they can do anything with. And Trump's now just done the Insurrection Act. This is a robber baron coup for the wealthy, for evil people and evil power to control people. We're moving into a stage of oligarchy, my guys. This isn't a fucking joke. This isn't about owning libs anymore. This is a much deeper, much more serious issue. And with so much more at stake. And I couldn't even get through this video because, there's just this side to me. I just want to reach out the camera, reach through and just say, look, dude, stop. Think about, just review and think about what it is that you're seriously believing in this man who's taking the world in a very, very dark direction right now. Think about how many people have to be wrong for your narrative that Trump is great. Think how many people have to be wrong for that to be true. Like I said, economists, his own Supreme Court, the international community, like swathes of scientists across every facet of life. All of these people need to be wrong, but for Trump to be right is basically just based on what Trump says. A man who used to grift his own workers. Yeah, he stiffed his own workers. And so get him to come and do work and then just stiff them. A man who juggled bankruptcy as a business model, and people think that makes him a fucking businessman genius. Bankrupting a casino. Jesus Christ, that's like almost statistically an impossibility. a man who has like clearly demonstrated like moral decadence to the nth degree. And when I say lied, I'm not talking about like subjectively, Marv, like objectively lied about things, and these things can be verified, proven. Things like the fucking vote being stolen. The vote was never stolen. There was no vote steal. It went through the court system. And again, not a democratic woke court system, a Trump appointed court system. And they looked at every single claim that he made, that he riled up a nation to where they literally marched on their own capital. They rioted on their own goddamn capital. Now I get it. In their minds, justice was being overthrown. Democracy was being overthrown. It's been stolen from us. Yeah, I almost can't blame you for going and rioting, because you should riot if justice, democracy is literally being stolen. That is a riot-worthy reason. But where I blame you is you believed all of this off the word of a man who is proven beyond any doubt. Again, there's no fucking wiggle room here, people. That he is a systemic, chronic manipulator, con man, bullshit artist. Yeah, a lot of people think that Trump is a truth talker, a truth teller. Now, I just want to make this very clear. There is a difference between a truth teller in the context of they come out and they say the thing. They say the thing. You know that all the other politicians who are also bullshit artists, they come out with their suit and their tie and they speak with all of this stiff upper lip, robotic, almost inhuman politician speak, where everything is platitudes and everything is smartly worded. And then Trump just came in and was like, no, fuck that, you should be in an orange jumpsuit. Clinton, you should be in an orange jumpsuit. That was like the first real big hysteria, I think, during the run-ups. First got Trump into power, where people were like, yeah, owned, based. He's a truth teller. Yeah, Clinton should be in a jumpsuit. That was a base thing to say. There's somebody who says the quiet bit out loud and doesn't add all the flowery political bullshit that we've all become immune to and we recognise as nonsense. There's a difference between saying the thing out loud, being a truth teller in that regard, and telling the actual truth. They're different things, but people have conflated them as being the same, and fuck. Anyway, on to the leader. Tell you what, I'm getting too passionate. I also know I'm going to lose a lot of subscribers, but I'm slowly bleeding them out anyway. And like I said, I don't mind at this point how the channel actually performs. I'm doing this for the love and passion, and thanks to you guys going in the comment section on both sides of the aisle. Some of you guys saying, I love it, Pez, you're putting voice to a lot of what I've been feeling. Some of you saying I live in the south of America and my whole family is in this cultish echo chamber where I can't get through to them. I can't speak sense. And I can imagine how hard it is for you, feeling like you're the crazy person in the room. It's like y'all will believe in crazy shit, but because all of you around me believe it, everyone in my close family, I feel like I'm going crazy. And how frustrating, how infuriating, how challenging that must be. Families have quite literally fallen out over this tribalism. And for you to go and say, take the wheels off the channel, Pairs, talk about these things, I appreciate it, I like it. Now on the other side of the aisle as well, I just want to say I'm speaking very, very passionately, and even in the last video I might say, you're an idiot. And I do think you are actually a bit of an idiot if you still, at this point, haven't seen the truth of the scenario that is playing out, or at least a good portion of them. But that doesn't mean I don't still love you. And some of you say it back to me. Though you're going on a Trump rant, and I love the guy, I still love you. I actually really appreciate it, because I do think there needs to be a separation between all of this and us as human beings, that are still able to respect and still see, even in our own misguided ways. I might be misguided, I might be wrong in all of this. Maybe you're right. MAGA bro, who also loves Final Fantasy. He's like, love you, Pez, but you're wrong in all of this. Maybe I am. Who knows? Because we're in such a post-truth era, and we all live under different facts. We're given different information from different sources. And based on what source we first started seeing a fact, guess what? The algorithm tends to work in a fashion where it will serve you more. And guess what? Before you know it, you didn't even have control over it. You're down the rabbit hole where your whole world, everything you see on social media, the characters that you first started watching when you went on your political journey. Oh, I like this guy. You know? I like the way he says things. Oh, he's funny. I'm going to watch more of his stuff. And then you become attuned and accustomed to their messaging. All of a sudden, you're adopting their beliefs. This is quite literally has been studied, like scientifically, as actual social studies on how someone gets to a flat earther point, believing the earth is flat, or how somebody becomes a Nazi. And it's how information is served up to us, and how when you begin in a particular vein, how quickly it can begin to snowball until everything that you're receiving shapes your worldview. You think this is the world that we live in, where Trump is fucking based and everyone else are evil woke lefties here to destroy our country. And I don't want our country destroyed. And then it works on the inverse the same way. But at the end of the day, I think I may have been a bit too harsh when I said Trump people are still supporting them, all operating under hate, or like you are. I do think objectively you are, but I don't think in your world you are. I think that you are, that there are many MAGA people who still have beautiful values. They do want to see people thrive. They want to see the working class people lifted up. They do want to see opportunity for everyone. Like there is beauty at the core of what you're wanting for the world. Where I just kind of get gloves off with this whole scenario, which I've never done historically. If you'd gone back even to the last Trump campaign, I would never have this kind of like vehement frustration. And I'd say that's what it's not a hatred, it's a frustration. It's like, fucking listen. I've never had this before historically, because I always look at, even though I'm a left-leaning individual, I like to think, and this is why I'm going to listen to a lot of right-wingers as well, because I don't want to be in an echo chamber. I don't want to fall for that trap of just being fed only one groove of information and becoming indoctrinated in an echo chamber. So I'll watch a lot of right-wingers, and then I'll listen and I'll be like, well, what's under the messaging right here? Oh, things like tradition, family values, like not allowing society to hurtle into this new progressive hysteria where we lose the things that ground us as a community, as a society. And these are things that do function, make a country function, that makes a harmonious society function. And I look at these individuals looking to protect and seeing the virtue of that tradition and upholding it, safeguarding it, and I go, oh, that does have a place. Oh shit, the left and the right, they have the place. Even in this war, in this battle, they're like yin and yang, and they're balancing each other, looking after, safeguarding, protecting, like virtues that do have their merit. That's how I always used to see it. I don't see it anymore, guys. You can't. That's not what Trump is. That's not what right is. MAGA is a fucking death cult. Like, it's not protecting shit, guys. It's just not. Like, you've gone too far at this point. You have disrupted the order, which is a deleted quote as well. Disrupt the order. This order you talk about is just a matter of your own convenience. Using God as an order to control the people is absurd. You have no right to take advantage of the innocent. Trump's here disrupting the order, and there was even one small point in time where I was like, yeah, good. I was actually a little bit pro-Trump before I really knew much about him, because I was like, the current order as it stands is absolutely abysmal, and anything coming and taking a hatchet to it can only be a good thing. You need to break a system before you can rebuild it, and maybe that is still what's happening. Trump is clearly breaking the system. Maybe he is a necessary evil, but just to be clear, it is evil nonetheless. Everything that he portrays, him and Elon and his oligarchy, robber baron buddies. Everything is just a matter of their own convenience. We as the people are just tools for their own convenience. It's also funny when it mentions like God being used as an order, because obviously Trump has sort of fallen in, pretended to also be a godly man. So all of the evangelicals have fallen behind him, and I see these hilarious like fucking photo takes of them standing, the hands on Trump's shoulder. It's like, he's the one, he's been sent by God. He's the second coming, here to uphold holiness and divinity and Christian values. The man who bangs hookers was on Epstein's flight, and if you don't think he actually went to the island, this is what people say. Oh, Trump was on Epstein's Lolita Express, which was the plane that would traffic these girls. Yeah, but he would never actually step foot on the island. There's literally pictures of it, of him partying with Epstein. He was like, I've known this guy for 10 years, we're best buddies. Like, this is not a man of Christian value, but still using that as a guise of this godliness that's been brought into American politics. Like, they've literally brought in who was the Supreme Court Justice? She was an evangelical type. The separation between church and state, which has always been what the forefathers intended for America. Separation of church and state. Literally trying to pass law around schooling and education, and that basically Christian teachings need to be back in the curriculum, even in science, like God as the creator of the universe, and even some of like creation story stuff needs to be actually put back on the curriculum. They have to attend mass again, and I think there's also things being flowed out sort of in terms of like tax to tax breaks for religious institutions. And I spoke in the last video about Trump and Elon having a war and the oligarchy being here, and a lot of people say, oh, Pez, you're just coming out with Trump hate. Like, give us some actual substantive stuff. Substantive, policy substantive. I mean, the list is endless. I mean, off the top of my head, there's no getting around what the latest bills have. What's there? The cuts to sort of the social security safety net, the 800 billion cut to Medicare and healthcare, like the Doge cuts, they've absolutely gutted innumerable, under the guise of waste, fraud and abuse. Okay, there may be waste, fraud and abuse, sure. But that doesn't mean you take a hatchet to absolutely everything, even the places where there clearly isn't waste, fraud and abuse. And this mentality of, no, you need to cut everything that helps working class people to get rid of waste, fraud and abuse, while at the same time sticking in the very same bill, not even just the same time, not even a week or month later, the same bill. More tax cuts for the rich. We're on like the 4th round of tax cuts for the fucking billionaire class. And Trump will then stand up and lie to people's faces, saying he's cutting taxes for the average working person or the middle class. And there may be small ones, but when you then go, and economists go line for line over what these bills do, and it's like, oh yeah, 83% of the benefits go to the top 1%. Oh, right, okay, so it's just a robber baron coup. It's just there to hurt the innocent. All of this cutting, lining the pockets of billionaires, and there's a reason why Bernie Sanders is on an anti-oligarchy campaign. I do believe America has been an oligarchy for a while. You might think, okay, oligarchy is a bit too extreme. It's definitely been a corporatocracy, and if you don't have any issue with a billionaire who essentially paid his way to run such fundamental parts of the country as what Doge has had a say in, I don't know what to tell you. Like, if you're fine with that, then here's what the furthest extension of that looks like. It looks like a world where we're not run by who we democratically elect. I mean, we're already not. But at least there's the facade of it. The facade will just be completely dropped. And what we'll have, because we're already getting to the stage where corporations are becoming more powerful than nations, we're getting to the stage where billionaires are stepping out of the shadows of being the real figures that run where money goes. I mean, why do you think the military-industrial complexes are becoming so insanely fat and bloated as they are? We're in the age of the shareholder-investor hysteria, where everything is for the shareholder, everything is for them. But now, when they at least would have to flow out their whims and their wants and their decrees, like inadvertently through super PAC channels, hand the keys of their wants to politicians and then have them enact it. With this latest, like what Trump is doing is they're not even in the shadows anymore. It's like, oh yeah, no, you're invited to come and directly do it. And the dystopian outlook of this is that we're run in like little ghettos, little groups, little corporatocracy fiefdoms, little tiny pocket kingdoms where a different corporate overlord, like fucking how Gotham gets decided out. Oh, this is like Poison Ivy territory, and this is fucking Penguins. And you have these oligarchy villains, like running their own little state, or fiefdom, as they see fit, playing with all the rules and the regulations, with us little minion folk, we're the little playthings for the fucking rich and the powerful. Evil power to control the people, taking advantage of the innocent. All of these themes that fucking Tactics was warning us about, they are playing out in real time. And if you want, further substance, especially, I mean, if we go on environment, there's a reason why I compared Trump to Shinra back in the day, and this was before he then came in and he did cuts to the EPA. He comes out and said, I want clean air, clean water, while literally cutting regulation that keeps water standards at a certain level. There has been water poisoning because of this man taking the whole approach of, for every one regulation we put in, we need to take 2 regulations out. So gutting the EPA. He's gutted a national climate funding. So there was a guy who was doing weather reporting for the last 30 years and be like, I can tell you with confidence that this hurricane is going to go in this direction. He came out the other day, a man who's like really loved in the weather world, because he's been at it for so long. He said, look, there's no other way for me to say this, but based on the anti-science approach of this latest administration and the cutting that's been happening, I can't tell you with any kind of certainty what's going to happen. What's going to end pouring out of the climate Paris Agreement. The swathes of policies that he's come out with to basically allow corporations to just absolutely reap Mother Earth for her resources. There was the Alaskan oil drilling, there was the deep sea mining, everything they've had with Ukraine going on, like pretending he's brokering a deal while shaming Zelensky and saying, like a mafia, we'll protect you. Well, he didn't even put any protection clauses in the Ukraine agreement. He's just like, give us 50% of your resources. We want 50% of your natural resources. Not even the Treaty of Versailles, which was so fucking punitive against Germany after World War I. Not even the Treaty of Versailles was that punitive as to what Trump is suggesting. Weakened all these regulations on the fossil fuel industry, gutted so much that was moving towards clean energy, really set America back from being what will essentially be the thing that leads to China. I mean, they're already going to be the superpower, but it's just going to speed it up because China go in the other direction. At least China have the fucking common sense to realise, renewable and self-sustaining, that's the only way we're going to move forward. And China sort of laughs at America, and what is it they said? They're like, we're a nation that have been around for 5,000 years. No, we're gonna be here long after America. We've been here long before and we'll be here long after. And that's how they see it. They see it as a chuckle, because America, this fresh young nation, just hurtling headlong into such disaster. And everything on the climate. I mean, would that not be what President Shinra does? And just the gangster mafia-like element that Shinra and the group had is exactly, extorting a country that's going to war. The whole tariff thing. Everything with these tariffs is so that Trump can essentially be like the big boss man. It's like, you don't want the 30% tariff, you don't want the 40% tariff under this fucking false, it's like, it's not even like basic economic understanding of tariffs. I'm sorry, MAGA, but you lost the war on any kind of serious discussion. Like, you exiled yourself the second you came out and said that Trump's tariffs made sense. They don't. There's no such thing as reciprocal. It's a lie. That's not how tariffs work. Like, it fundamentally isn't how tariffs work. It's not a woke perspective. That's not a woke POV. It's not an opinion. That is a fact. How Trump is saying tariffs work is factually not how it works. No, America doesn't pay the tariff to a country if that country's given them a higher tariff. It's not like that. And if he raises it, it's not a tax that the other country pays. That's a lie. It's what the fucking company pays, the American company, who then pass that cost down to the consumer. That's why Walmart have said, oh yeah, we're going to be raising our prices. That's why shitloads of companies in America are like, yeah, okay, with these tariffs, we'll have to pass the cost on to the consumer, because that's how it works. And every economist comes out and says, yeah, that is how it works. Like, Trump is just a fucking moron. But that's the thing, is he a moron? Because I don't think he doesn't know, or he hasn't had an economist tell him, but what is it? He wants that mafia-like power, where basically countries have to come and bend at the knee of the king. And Trump's done enough to basically hint towards that. That, oh yeah, you need to come and you need to get down on your fucking knees. Petition the king. Come, petition the king. You want to do a deal? You want to do a deal? I'm a man of deals. Art of the deal. I'm a deal maker. I come in and make deals. The tariff thing, just... I don't think Americans realise how much that's going to hurt them, because one of the things that makes living as an American, or why you've got all of the crazy costs associated with healthcare and wages that have just been stagnant. Like, one of the things that makes partaking as a citizen in the American economy good is like cheap goods. Only things remaining that stops it from absolutely crippling the working class to where they just like quite literally can't survive is that goods are generally on the cheaper side. And now that's about to disappear, and I don't think people realise the world of hurt, as well as, what was it, Hoover? Herman Hoover. I don't know if the name was Herman. I know it was Hoover, the Hoover Act, 100 years ago at this point, I think. He came in with this exact false notion that raising tariffs would stimulate the economy. It didn't. It was one of the things that led to the Great Depression. Not really the cause, but it deepened it substantially because it just starts trade wars. And yeah, that's the thing. Trump thinks that he can be this like mafia-like Shinra character and everyone bend the knee, but they won't. And all it is going to make Trump and America isolated. I mean, that's quite literally what is happening. Europe is reconfiguring itself and the rest of the world is, to where we basically do business without America. And if it continues at this pace, because also Trump has made it so that America can't be trusted, threatening a war with Mexico, threatening to take Greenland, Panama, threatening Canada, the hostilities towards Europe, just everyone who is an ally, talk absolute smack and shit to, and even directly threaten the sovereignty of, and then go and cozy up. His first ever trip that he ever did in this new presidency, first trip they did, was it to go to Europe or his allies? No, it was to go to Saudi Arabia. It was to go to Qatar and all the authoritarians over there. What does he say about Xi Jinping, the authoritarian ruler of China? I really respect him. I like that he rules with an iron fist. Me and Putin, we got a great relationship. Yeah, Putin. Kim Jong-un, I love him. We kind of love each other. We have like a bromance going on. Like that's literally something that Trump said. I respect authoritarians and dictators, but to my allies, fuck you. I don't do business with you. No. Come grovel at the foot of the king. Crazy. I didn't expect to be talking about any of this, by the way. I just remembered someone in the comments saying you need to bring actual substantive things when you talk in this area. Is this substantive enough? Is it? About America not being able to be trusted as well. What about the Iran nuclear agreement? Oh yeah, the agreement where America stole Iran's money through the international community and then said, we'll give you your money back if you follow this nuclear agreement where you can't enrich beyond just your power grid. Iran said, okay. They then allowed in experts from all around the world, impartial, bipartisan experts come in, and they cleared every single check. They are not enriching to the point of a nuclear weapon whatsoever. And then Trump got in and he said, all right, so you upheld your end of the bargain. Are we going to give you your money back? No, fuck you. Tore the agreement up. Iran followed the agreement. They followed it. And then when Trump was questioned, what did he say? Oh, the last administration, billions of American taxpayers' dollars planned to give it to Iran. It was their money. It was their money. It wasn't American taxpayer dollars. He lied. He comes out and lies. He tore up a deal that was brokering a peace and proved that American are the rattiest of rat nations. That is a rat ass fucking move, man. And you've done that with almost every single other agreement. You've gone, like, Trump has isolated America politically. And I know what some people are going to say to all of this. No, because I could sit and I could reel off a million at this point, substantive. Not even, no, it's not an opinion, this is a fact, and you will deceive yourself on every single thing. Fake news, fake news, fake news. You've been put into a fake news hysteria where you can't see reality. And then you know what, even when I do then prove to some people, because I've had these conversations, I've had it with Americans face to face. I just spent like 6 months out there. I've been in America a lot recently. I've been amongst and you know, what will happen is when you then completely corner them as a third party. I'm a Brit, you know, as an Aussie might do, or a Canadian. Once you corner an American, you go, no, this is just factually what we see is going on. You know, there's actually no room for argument for any of this. There isn't. There's no justification for this action. There's no justification for this behaviour. It's too destructive. It's too destabilising globally. It hurts working class people in your country and abroad. There's no justification. Let me iterate that again and again. Once you prove that to an American, too many of them, and by the way, I just want to say, many of you that are absolutely fantastic, love you guys to bits. Americans are beautiful fucking people, and I mean, it's part of my community, so of course, I have a lot of love. And I do when I'm also out there. But some will then turn around and go, why don't you mind your own business? Why don't you care about what's going on in the UK? Why don't you care what's going on in Europe? Why is everybody so obsessed with us? Or like, or they'll downplay what you know as a foreigner. Because they're like, this is my country, I think I should know what's going on. Do you think that Germans under Nazi Germany were the most clear-headed people to see what their government was doing? Do you think so? Do you think the people who are entrenched and day in, day out in the culture that is being fed the indoctrination, the lies, the ones who are having their social mind groomed en masse, do you think they're the most clear-headed people? They're not. Do you think North Koreans are the most informed people about North Korea? Have some good faith and take on the third-party perspective, because quite frankly, the rest of us around the world, we're seeing shit that, quite frankly, many of you do see it, but too many of you don't. And that's the point, too many of you don't. And, you know, us, we're all around the world and we're pointing and going, no, bro, we're supposed to be friends. This isn't how we operate. This isn't how Western democracy operates. Yes, there are flaws to, you know, try and be the good guys. There are. You know, like in any Final Fantasy story, you know, the villains, they can do whatever they want. Means justify any ends. There's no method or tool that they can't resort to get what they want. But, you know, the protagonist has rules on him. He has guardrails. There are things he won't do. And that's just the classic hero story, right? Is that to maintain being the hero, being the good guy, sometimes he needs to take a disadvantage. Or be at a disadvantage. You know, and the temptation to cross that line to get that way, if you cross that line, that's when you become the villain. And what we're pointing to is, America, you may even have like some merit to the things that you're wanting to achieve. America first, or stopping terrorism, whatever it is. But if you yourself become a terrorist in the process of stopping terrorism, it's the hero becoming the villain to stop the villain. All you've done is replace the villain. We're also now seeing that, ironically, with the fact that, America was the only one who stood up and defended Israel, vetoed every other nation, and even then threatened action against the rest of us, he was like, oh yeah, if you hurt our buddy Israel, or like you stand against them, or you condemn them, we're going to turn on all of you. This is the kind of threatening, aggressive behaviour. You're doing it all to support what, Netanyahu? Are you a literal war criminal? And that idea of like terrorism creating more terrorism, or villains creating villains. Yeah, it just came out that Israel are funding ISIS. Funding ISIS to fight Hamas. And you might go, oh, well, that's smart. Turn the terrorists on the terrorists. Yeah, it would be smart if it wasn't for the fact that we just did 2 decades in the Middle East where America tried that. The UK and America, we tried that. We tried paying warlords of little terrorist factions, giving them guns and weapons and money to go and fight other terrorists. I'm like, oh yeah, let the snakes bite each other's heads off. That's smart. Well, guess what? Warlords and terrorist organisations aren't the most trustworthy. We end up just putting money and power and weaponry into the wrong hands. Villains creating villains. And when you're a villain-making machine, you yourself are a villain. And that's what all of this is. That point about being in the country and not seeing it. Oh yeah, this is a video about tactics and some quotes in it. Al-Islam, Durai, he says, but we also know that what we see with our own eyes alone isn't necessarily the truth. What with the rise of AI, and what with the flow of information, what with certain news network, like if you watch MSNBC or Fox News, like what they will show you, and the manner in which they show you, the context in which they will show you. I mean, isn't it just crazy at this point? Something could happen, and there's video proof of it for everyone to see, but one news outlet will run it in this context, and another in this, and though we are seeing the same thing, 2 completely different narratives, 2 completely different truths, or falsehoods, or both, or none, are like gleaned from it. So Al-Islam, what we see with our eyes isn't necessarily the truth. This is from Deleted, by the way. Most people have to act the roles given to them. Then again, most of them haven't even noticed they're acting. I feel, and I might also be one of these, like that we're given roles to play in the social dialogue, the social debate sphere. We're given our roles and we go in, we advocate for the POV and the perspective, the reality, higher hive minds, because let's be real, like leftism and rightism and MAGA and wokeism, these are like collective hive minds, entities of thinking that pass off to all of us little folk, and they give us roles to play, and then we go out and we play, and we do videos like this. Idiots like me, YouTuber fucking idiots like me, coming out and ranting, spieling at a camera. I like to think that I'm aware though that I'm acting. Most of them haven't even noticed that acting, and they're just outside of social dialogue, just because we play so many other roles, and yeah, like I pointed out earlier, gender also having a social element to it, how it is socially felt, that is also a role. That's a role to play, and that is given externally to us, and that does change. It does affect how we act with our emotions, how we act with people. I feel like if you don't realise, if you're a dude who you haven't got control of your emotions yet, and you're still wilding out with hostility or aggression or toxicity. Yes, I know some people can be like, toxic masculinity is not real, whatever. That is real. And you don't realise you're feeling that because you're still playing a role of what you were told, fed to believe, like what acting like a dude is like. Same with the female. Like if you're going around looking for gratification online for your physical, spending money in surgery on this, what amounts to a fucking meaningless sack of skin and flesh, right? Spending all your time prettying and dulling that up because that's what you've been fed as your role in society, and now you don't even realise you're acting. Like, do you know how much I get frustrated when, I shouldn't say this, but well, yeah, even my sister or people who have like gone to such lengths with their physical appearance, and I say, I try not to do this too much, but I like to have that mask rip off moment. It's like, oh, you're you do realise that this is all just like a social pressure, standard status quo. Say like lasering your hair. I think I had this conversation with my sister. Oh yeah, lasering, like. Yeah, I guess you're doing it just because everyone else does it. It's like, no, it's genuine. It's like, this is genuinely how I like to look. Like, that is a 1,000% me, a self-derived thing. And I'm like, no, it's not. Wait, you don't realise you're acting? You don't realise you're acting. No, this is how I would look. Guys, okay, let me personify you. We live in an age where it just happens to be that humans think that hairy women, like dwarfs, we're a dwarf society in Lord of the Rings, go swimming with hairy women. Like, hair on a woman was the most attractive thing. And say if you were born pretty hairless, all the other women and dudes be like, oh, look, I can see all of her skin, like she's barely got any hair on. You're disgusting. Like, people gossip about you and shame you. And maybe at some point, like, girls would push you in the locker room or whatnot and whisper things about you, make you feel like absolute garbage because you didn't have hair. You think you'd still be here, like lasering. If the beauty standard was on the other foot and in the opposite direction, she's like, yeah, I do think I would. I'm like, wow, whoa, oh God. Wake up, everyone! Wake up! See the roles that you're playing. What are given to you. That this is a fucking act. The superficiality of it. The immaterial, impermanent fucking nonsense of it. None of this matters. Find the higher purpose. Find the higher reason. Take the higher road. On everything. As best you can. It's brutally hard. Like I said, being the hero isn't easy. It comes with disadvantages. It's not the fastest route to the top of anything. Being even a person in the workplace who doesn't cheat their way to the top, who doesn't, and this is what the kind of person Trump is. This is the kind of person Trump is. Cheats his way there, manipulates, throws others to the wayside, takes credit for things, taking credit for someone else's work, passing it off as your own, taking accolades for that, downplaying and besmirching other people's efforts and works. I get this fear that if you haven't seen that in Trump, then you haven't cultivated that quality yourself. Because if you've cultivated that kind of quality within your own being, you should be able to see what kind of person Trump is. Like, if you are a decent, principled, well-rounded individual who is autonomous and discerning and capable of critical thinking, like, you must be able to look at this and go, okay, yeah, this is too far. This is gone. I actually disappointed when I did vote, but where this is going now. Now I'm finishing off with the serious quotes. Before we get to some more playful ones. There's something about being a con man and falsifying. Governments, this is a WeGraph Foley. Governments falsify history only so it favours them. But you can't blame them because people always hope for a miracle. So Americans wanted Trump to be a miracle. They were burnt out. They were downtrodden. Yeah, they realised whether it was Obama, whether it was Clinton, whether it was Bush, it doesn't change. Nothing changes. And he thought this was going to be a miracle. People always hope for a miracle. Endlessly complaining, lazy nuisances. By the way, WeGraph is villainous at this point. That's what the masses really are. Governments give people what they want and history repeats itself. Governments might well have taken advantage of their insecurity, but then again, people are satisfied being used. A very villainous line. One I hope not to agree with, but I think Persona 5 also did this same thing. I think they literally did people as sheep, intentionally staying behind the bars, and even when the bars were opened, like, no, we'd rather stay here. That's kind of the thing that WeGraph is pointing into. This deathcore fencer. How are we different? Birth, status, what the hell is rank? Dice Dogs is justice. I'm embarrassed to think you ever said that. You think such pretty ideals can govern the people. Why are you able to use that sword? Why do you think that people call you a hero? It's all because of me, because I dirtied my hands. You're here. You should be thanking me, not despising me. So Dice Stark. Was he? Ramza's brother. He is a book, Beauvais. I talk about means justifying the ends. And I suppose this is how people are starting to see progress now. We're moving to an era where something like justice is being thrown out. Because you know, even if you're the MAGA-iest of MAGA, I mean, maybe you don't, but I think you do. You do. Stop fucking lying to me. You do. You know he's throwing out the Constitution. You know that international law is being violated. You know there are criminality elements to this. You know that his own Supreme Court have come out and said you absolutely cannot do that. Like deporting that guy to El Salvador. The people that they've been thrown to a kidnapping. Like, let's not be clear. I was going to say deporting. It's not deporting. ICE have been kidnapping and trafficking citizens to essentially a death camp in El Salvador. I'm not going to argue or go back and forth on whether the guy, because there's a few, but there was one, I can't remember his name, was it Andre or something? Like whether he was part of a gang, and the right will come out, oh no, he absolutely is part of the gang, 100%, guaranteed. No question about it. Trump will even post out a thing of like the symbols on his knuckles, showing that he is part of the gang. And other people say there's absolutely no proof of that whatsoever. Regardless of whether he is or he isn't, there are rules in place for a fucking reason. Yes, even criminals have their day in court. Murderers. We don't just throw them to the gulag. We don't just hang our criminals without due process. Due process is a fundamental part of a Western democracy. And to see due process being thrown out, and even, though the Supreme Court have said you absolutely need to bring this guy back immediately. This is illegal on every single level. Trump just turns around and goes, yeah, fucking make me. Make me. And they're like, dude, right, what are you saying? He's like, did I stutter, bitch? What are you going to do about it? That flagrant, disregard for rule and law and order and justice. Justice is supposed to be blind. Justice does have an order to it. It is something that absolutely must be honoured and upheld. And it just simply hasn't. And even what Elon Musk, someone was like, oh, why did you say Elon's a criminal? What's he done? He's only trying to help America. What has Elon done? Quite literally, cut fundings to programs that even when the Supreme Court came and said, no, you can't do that. You literally cannot constitutionally do that. It's like, yeah, don't give a shit. He had a 19-year-old ketamine addict. Elon, he recruited a bunch of tech bros. The 19-year-old ketamine addict quite literally got fired from his last job. What for? For leaking private business information, stealing and selling company secrets. Elon then had this guy hack into the government treasury. They've even been hacking nuclear codes, or the arm that is responsible for nuclear codes and weapons. I think it's the NNSA. Just had young drug addicts hacking into these things willy-nilly. Illegal. Justice, the Constitution, the seizing and consolidating of power, the monopolising, the oligarchs having their little fiefdoms, throwing that all out, and they're making it all for them, for the 1%. That's what this man's doing. He hasn't brought jobs to America like he promised. He actually outsourced more fucking jobs. Is just some of the things. Roll back executive orders requiring federal contractors to recognise existing unions. I mean, yeah, the anti-union aspect. I don't know why they had a union guy come up and really simp for Trump when Trump then turned around and obliterated unionisation. Again, because he lies. Delayed the Biden era rule that made it so that misclassifying workers as contractors, which is a scam that American companies run endlessly. We've got 300 contractors all working here, and it's all ways to basically not give them the basic rights of, America doesn't even have what I consider basic workers' rights anyway, like the holiday time that you don't get, the sick pay that you don't get, the maternity leave that you don't get compared to the rest of developed nations. There's so much that Americans don't get that the rest of the free developed nations of the world have gone, oh yeah, that's not up for question. That's just what a democratic and fair society does. Like this is a standard, and America's just not even living up to them. And what little bits it did, Trump's been rolling it back again with the social safety nets. That was like one of the main and most beneficial and positive and powerful. It was like the only thing that held America together with bubblegum and tape was the social safety net policies they did have. Rolled back all of them. He's terminated the collective bargaining agreement of more than 45,000 workers. All of the layoffs that have been done, I mean, across so many industries, including flight safety. So now flights have been crashing left, right and centre. Rescinded multiple executive orders that were going to give hundreds of thousands, even millions of low-wage federal contractors living wages, gutted workers' safeties, stripped collective bargainings. Multiple millions of workers delayed the enforcement of a rule intended to protect coal miners from exposure to silica. Come on. And then obviously, everything with Doge going for waste, fraud and abuse. If you actually look at how much inefficiency and chaos, what they said is they're going to get rid of waste, fraud and abuse. And what they actually put in place was inefficiency, understaffing and chaos. The man does not help the working class. And yet, like Sidolphus Orlando, what a great character, the Sid of Tactics says, our nation exists because of the people. We exist because of them. Sir Sid talking from a place of governing power, saying that we only exist because of the people. That they need a reminder of that. That is fundamentally why everyone needs to get impassioned about this. Everybody needs to get vocal. That's why I'm taking the gloves off in what's going to be a super long video at this point. It is important. People need to vote on their local and state level. People need to, show up at protests. Obviously, you can't get together 10,000 people who are pissed off, angry and protesting, and there's not going to be some people who break the law. But just because some people break the law doesn't mean that the entire movement doesn't mean anything. Is this something that the right have just fallen hook, line, and sinker? Like, there are mass waves of protests going on, and so many of them are being held peacefully, lawfully, correctly, in the correct manner. But then the media, the right-wing fucking MAGA train will just pick out isolated instances of violence where somebody breaks that contract, essentially, and then they go, see, look, oh, they were just violent terrorists. The whole thing is a terrorist ideology. Insurrection Act, boots on the ground, deploy National Guard, get them in the fucking streets. You ever heard of Naomi Klein shock doctrine? It's where governments take hysteria, moments of hysteria, of shock, hitting shock value stories, which you will see if you see cars on streets with rioting and looting and flames and stuff, but to use that shock to then slip in motives that have long been there. Oh, this is an opportunity. They take advantage of moments of shock. This is Naomi Klein shock doctrine, to sneak under the doorway things that in regular peacetimes they just simply wouldn't be able to. But that doesn't undermine the movement. It's like Trump has started deporting and kicking out and refusing and going to war with universities, students who are protesting the Gaza-Palestine stuff. They're saying that they're Hamas terrorist supporters and they're criminals, literally locking some of them up, kicking them out, making America a pariah. America has, up until this administration, had some of its best and its brightest from all over the world coming to its universities. And also its tourism has dropped off a cliff because no one wants to go there. I got fucking thrown in a back room last time I went over there, thrown in a back room for 4 or 5 hours and interrogated. I was threatened. I was given sneak and trick question after question, saying that my motives for coming over were nefarious. And basically he's just brought the iron fist and MAGA along with him down on peacefully protesting students and playing them up as criminals and using that as a tool to undermine what it is that they're protesting and misaligning and straw manning. Oh, the levels of straw, God damn. You go out to America now, the countryside is just full of straw men standing in their strawy fields, just fucking all out there waiting for Dorothy and the Tin Man and the Lion to come along so he can go to Oz so he can get a fucking brain. Get a brain. Like, you do realise that even, say, Martin Luther King, when Martin Luther King was doing his work and his advocacy and his peaceful protests, and there were so many protesters who were getting set on by dogs and the police with batons, and they were taking these brutal beatings and this discrimination, vilification, horrible stuff. You do realise that even at that time, there was also Malcolm X, who was radical, who did resort to violence, and how much the white racists of the time would use moments of Malcolm X's movement or black people being violent to go, see, look, all violent, or to undermine the movement. It's a strategy as old as time. How can you still be so thick as to fall for it? All of this really then comes down to Avelia's quote, which is so simple. It's not powerful, it's not poignant. Well, it is actually very powerful, but it's just very simple. And in its simplicity, it may actually be the most powerful of all of these quotes. Avelia says, I pray we can all be ever so slightly kinder to one another. Ripley wanted to go out just as I was feeling into that. I feel like that really might be the biggest thing that is just being lost right now. Working man being turned on working man. Family member being turned on other family member. Like I said, the divisions that have been happening in households, uncles from nephews, fathers from sons, mothers from daughters. This has become so divisive, and it's never been at this stage. There's always been political disagreement. Of course there has. There's always been different POVs. But at least, there wasn't this, I see you as the mortal enemy. You are the mortal enemy. You are my foe who must be crushed and vanquished. Do you know how many people will come out and say things like, the only good Democrat is a dead Democrat? I've heard it. I've heard that in person. Holy shit. Reel it in. Back it up. And of course, there are obviously then lefties and Democrats who will say utterly vile things about right-wingers. I hope you die. I hope only the worst for you. It happens on both sides of the aisle. But I do think, by and large, it's more right coming to the left. That attitude. Because at the end of the day, and this is my belief, and this is completely my political bias, I do believe that the majority of the left, the things that they mostly want, what are those kind of things? Free education, free healthcare, the ability for unionisation, workers' rights, socialism, communism. I can hear it now. No, it's not. These are principles that are just taking care of our most vulnerable in society. Doesn't matter if some of the people who are taking advantage of that, they're doing just that. They're taking advantage. They are able-bodied and they could go out to work. Yes, there will be some people who will take advantage of a country's compassion. Just like other human beings. If you're a compassionate human being, you've experienced other people taking advantage of your compassion. That happens. There's not to say there aren't ways to stop that. But you don't throw the compassion out altogether. That's not the fix. And what I generally feel is that what the left largely advocate, and I know there is the fringe and there is the radical element, of course there is, but this is why I'm a lefty, because as a lefty, what I, and I know many other lefties feel, is that even if you're a right-winger, even if I hate everything that you stand for, like ideologically, I hate it, I think it's vile, I think it's not, I think it will only bring humanity into a worse direction. Even though you have those opinions, I still want the best for you. I want you to have a living wage. I want you to be able to have a home. I want you to be able to thrive. And I want you to go through life struggling. I want the best for you, like I want it for myself. Safeties and securities, and to have opportunity, to live in peace and freedom, and to have democratic rights as equal to mine. I want your freedoms of speech. To say that hateful dumb shit that you're saying, I want you to be able to say that. But there's not that coming from the right anymore. There was prior to Trump, but Trump's changed that. Trump has changed you into a hate cult, a death cult, quite literally. I'm not going to go into it because I've gone on long enough, how this has led to tangible real world deaths, but he's changed the Overton window of what the right is about, and you just need to wake up. Wake up to it. Go actually do your research. Just if you're so confident in your position, if you really are, that Trump is great and that you are right, all right, take me up on this. A challenge. Go on the assumption, say, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that everything that Pez said is real. That the level of severity and danger and degree, I'm going to assume it's real. And I'm going to go and I'm going to look at everything under the lens of disproving that. And go do unbiased, unecho-chambered research and see if you can truly challenge what my perspective is. And I almost guarantee if you do that in any kind of good faith, I always guarantee you'll come to the conclusion of holy fucking shit, I was wrong. This is absolutely abysmal. What the fuck has happened to my brain? How did that happen? How did I get to that point of thinking that this was okay, that this was acceptable, that this was fine, that the house wasn't on fucking fire? How did I ever believe that? That's what you should get to, if you take me up on that. But now just finishing on some playful ones, some playful quotes, some happy but also very true based Final Fantasy quote takes. Beck says, brush your teeth before bed. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. I've been brushing my teeth before bed. I'm just gonna shamefully admit, and maybe this is a Brit, maybe it's my destiny to have fucked up yellow teeth. I've been less and less doing it in the morning now. I've started becoming a once a day, just in the before bed teeth brusher. Anyone else with me? Is it just me? Well, the stereotype of British people having fucked up teeth. Where did that come from? Do we? As Sabrina says, and this one I feel personally attacked by, snacking will make you fat. I'm a chunky peasant right now. I will go to a store with a plan to buy meals, and I'll mostly just buy snacks. Snacking will make you fat. Snacking hath make me fat. There's a character called Blackie. It was 1997, okay? There's a character called Blackie that says, there's no difference between aristocrats and commoners. Oh, that's not a fun one. Don't know why I put that under the fun category. Clara in the game says, our party might have an underwear thief in it. There's always a panty thief in every group. Anyone ever done it? Be honest, it's honesty time. Go to the comment section if you've ever stolen a pair of panties. Either from a store for your own self-use or because you're a degenerate little pervert. Okay, I can't ask for honesty if I'm not going to. Yeah, I've done it. Okay, I've done it. I didn't do it to someone I wasn't in a relationship with. I was, and they knew about it, and it was like a playful kind of like, let's have some of these. It was consensual. That's what I'm saying. Don't be an unconsensual panty thief. That's not cool. That's creepy. Like Trump's the kind of guy. Trump is the kind of motherfucker to unconsensually steal someone's panties. And if that ain't reason enough to recognise we need to get this guy thrown out, impeached. I don't know what the action is you can even take against this guy. There's a reason why they call him Teflon Don. Teflon Don. Just basically like bullets bounce off this motherfucker. Nothing ever sticks or lands. And, he had that reputation beforehand, and everything has just shown that to actually be true. The guy's immune. Like, for Christ's sake, if literally becoming a convicted felon. What is it, like 83 criminal charges or something put against him? Oh, 88. Oh, I was close. I had to look it up. Yeah, Trump has 88 criminal charges levied against him. And Mans hasn't spent a day in prison. In fact, he got once again appointed to most powerful man in the world. How are we on this timeline? How did we get here? I feel like that's the real, and that's what tactics does with those quotes. Those little quotes and the story as a whole, the structure, like those are just little isolated quotes, but if you look at all of it put together in the amalgamation of the story, it really is a great insight into pointing out how these things come to pass, how we arrive in these places, because it's no individual or isolated thing, and it's also not just blamed on one side. It's not all to be blamed for just MAGA or Republicans or Trump. It's not. Now that is also being disingenuous. There are so many other woes and evils and complacency that have been perpetuated by the left, socially, the left, and also the actual political parties themselves, Democrats. Even how America is behaving as a nation. Us also as a collective international community, we also have roles to play and blames to share in it. This video is long enough, but yeah, I think exploring that how we got here is super important. But I do also end up thinking that how we got here is, it is very valuable, but it doesn't matter as much as recognizing that we are here and people waking up to us being here and us getting the fuck out of here. That's more pressing right now. The thought experiments and mapping and lesson learning, needs to happen. But what's even more dangerous is if we don't truly come together and recognize where we are at and take some kind of action. But yeah, I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's doable. Teflon Don is pretty invincible, and that's how he feels. That's how he feels. The man is coming up to 80 years old, or he's in his 80s, and he's never been held accountable for fucking anything he's ever done. He feels immensely invincible, and why shouldn't he? And that he can get away with absolutely anything. And history has just proven time and time again that he can. And that, when a man with that much power, who is addicted to power and status, the whole reason he even ran this, do you know the reason? Because it was floated as a suggestion once, and a room full of people laughed at him, and he stormed out and he brooded over everyone laughing at him that he couldn't be president. And it was that narcissistic, that egotistical motive why he wants to get here, and now he's here. I want to be the king on the hill. That's the man's incentive. It's not to help the worker. It's not. It's that self-aggrandizing, get as close to God, King, Emperor as possible. It is a merge of all the 7 deadly sins as a motive. That's who the man is. And don't think this video will shift the needle whatsoever in helping anyone to see that, but really felt calling to come and do this video. Don't know why I was about to try to justify it. I had a good time. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.